talking to my doctor about everything and her to start tearing up. See, now I'm going to start crying again. But for her to start tearing up and get emotional as well, and to say that she is proud of me for everything that I've been through, and to still be trying to do my best in life and not falling down a path that is a lot harder to come back from, was really reassuring to hear.
"2025. Even though it's not finished yet, it was probably the hardest year that I've had to go through so far in my 33 years on this planet. It was a year that tested me in ways that I was not expecting and forced me to transform my mind into one that can bear the load of life just that little bit better. But let's rewind a little. I have been in the push and pull of whether I should step back from my hard-built career that I've spent a lot of time, money, and education in achieving. Working in the film industry as a hair and makeup artist was a dream of mine. I loved movies and the magic that they brought into my life. Ever since I was a young kid, it was always a place that welcomed me and showed me what happiness could be, what it looked like to be loved, and what it could feel like. But now, flash forward as a 23-year-old, I began working in that same industry. Yet, as the years went on, I didn't feel that same magic anymore. At some point, I'd stopped being excited about being so incredibly lucky to finally be in the job my childhood self dreamed of. Was it the realization of what being in this industry actually meant? What the job actually entailed? The crazy work hours, the lack of work-life balance? Maybe. Probably. But this feeling of self-hate, depression, and lostness was one that I am no stranger to. The confusion of my career and what I wanted as a job made me face all the other questions I had been running from. Questioning my presence in a career spurred me into a quest and journey that was also plagued with health issues along the way, but then also became a gateway for me to realize a lot about myself, my past traumas, and my relationships. This took me through a mental breakdown that was extremely hard to get through. It began so abruptly. It was like a disconnect between your mind and your body. You end up feeling and expressing things before your mind even realizes why. You end up crying, sometimes with clear reasons as to what triggered it, but most of the time, it's your body feeling and trying to expel years of mental compartmentalization and unresolved emotions. I had gone for so long without fully looking into myself and being introspective that my body forced it upon me when I least expected it. The harsh and fast realization I went through, shattering the narrative in my head that certain people would finally change, and that they would actually express to me how they were proud or happy or loved me for who I am. In your rational mind, you know that you shouldn't expect people to act comfortingly or show you unconditional love if they have never been one to do so before, but you always wish. You always end up having a part of you that hopes that when something happens, they will say or do something comforting and put your mind at ease. But when that never comes, the disappointment and the hurt is unending. So after years and decades of this cycle, my brain finally came to the conclusion, it's not going to change. They aren't going to change. Not for me. No amount of people-pleasing, jumping when they say jump, or material success I can achieve is going to make them finally treat me and talk to me the way I have been longing for. And when that set in, my body and mind started the grieving process, whether I wanted to or not. Going through this process fast-tracked quitting my job. It definitely made it a bit easier that the phone stopped calling as much because I had already said no to jobs due to my health problems. This process was made easier because I am incredibly privileged to have the support of my husband, as well as having been gone through therapy for a year beforehand. So I feel like the moment that my mind broke and I began to fall, I had loved ones and professionals in my corner that were helping me slow my descent to earth. There were scary moments when I thought I didn't matter, that the future seemed too tedious and only filled with a mixture of the pain and nothingness I was currently feeling. If I thought about what next year would bring, it would only be filled with nothing. Something that I feel doesn't get talked enough about is the nothingness. In my experience, it's a scarier feeling than the pain. When you start to feel nothing, like nothing really mattered, like you couldn't care about anything, that's when I began to have thoughts that could have led me to not be here today. So what did I do? How was I able to be here making this video? Apart from my closest loved ones, something that got me through, even if I was feeling the pain one day or a black hole of nothing the next, was the thought of, I wonder what tomorrow will be like. I was fortunate enough to still be able to create content for my Patreon lovelies, maintaining some sense of routine, community and purpose. But one thing that also massively helped me was renovating our house. Something that people don't really tell you about when you do therapy or are going through a lot of mental healing is just how exhausting it truly is. It becomes increasingly difficult to know whether or not you're making any progress in doing all this mental and internal work. Time feels like it stands still, or worse, like it's Groundhog Day. Just living day in, day out, and nothing is actually making an impact on your life or future. So when I decided to start doing the projects around the house that I've been putting off for years, it was like a part of me started to feel a twinge of motivation again. Like something I was doing was actually making a difference. Because it was. So in conjunction with doing all this mental work, I began planning what we could change about our house. I got the paint out, I started to learn how to do things I've never done before, like wainscoting or making curtains. And because we didn't have much of a budget to do these sort of things, I had to learn and do these things myself. While I was painting or nailing bits of timber to the wall, I could see my vision for what I wanted and how my hard work was paying off right before my eyes. I could tangibly see time progressing and feel like I was actually moving forward each and every day. Then, one day, I realized I wasn't crying as much, or something that used to trigger strong negative emotions was now more manageable for me to process and respond. It was through working with my hands in tandem with my therapy that I was able to begin to heal my mind. I had to break down my sense of who I was, why I was doing things, and rebuild it all. Just like how I was changing our home to how we would best enjoy the space, instead of living with the previous owner's decisions, my life and aspirations were influenced to live life to make those around me happy instead of making myself happy. And this was a huge breakthrough for me. The realization that you don't have to be confined to who someone made you to be just to please them. You can actually take steps to become the person that finds peace and happiness within themselves. It definitely isn't easy, but it is worth it. To go against inbuilt principles and thoughts that you thought were your own, but then realize that they were only instilled to hold you down, takes a lot of internal work to identify the problems within your own thought processes and how to change them. Having people there, safe people, loved ones and professionals, was very important in helping me through these hurdles. a lot of cognitive dissonance happens, which means holding two opposing truths at once. It's uncomfortable to sit in because as humans, we like to find lines, good and bad. But when they coexist simultaneously, it's hard to work through. We need to sit in the discomfort in order for us to actually make the right decisions for ourselves. We need to acknowledge them to work through it. And that's what I have been doing and still doing. I'm taking each day as it comes, wondering if tomorrow will be different. It doesn't have to be better, just different. And in doing so, I was able to work with my hands to heal my mind. It doesn't get any easier, but I do cry less. So it has allowed me to realize what I want for myself beyond tomorrow, and that is to be happy. Like the new paint on our walls and the progress on our home that I can see before my eyes, it subconsciously allowed me to recognize the progress that I have made within myself. While I look the same on the outside, I am ever evolving on the inside, ready to live today and welcome tomorrow. Hopefully you can follow along on my journey as we live today and welcome tomorrow together.